What if the only thing holding you back is a story that you didn't write yourself? Hey, everybody, it's Megan Holly, and we are here at Taking Flight. And today we're talking a little bit about self limiting beliefs. And I don't know about you, there's a lot of stories in this brain of mine that have come from so many other places than my own self. And I could look back at teachers and siblings, parents, all these things. We pick up little nuances about what or who we are along the way. And many times they become kind of just facts in our operations, like our everyday mode of operations, because we've been told, right? Been told what we are, who we are, and all of the things. So, today, we're going to talk a little bit about how to kind of gain back the power in the way that we, A, identify ourselves, and B, kind of roam about the earth, if you will. And I know that I personally, over the last handful of years, and especially right now, am shedding a lot of layers and kind of erasing, or maybe not erasing, because maybe there was a point in time when some of those kind of titles and ways of describing ourselves were helpful and protected us. And other times, maybe they hindered us. But right now, I'm kind of in that process of figuring out what really is what I'm about and who I am. So for me, as an example, I was always the shy, quiet person, which is not untrue, right? I was a very shy, quiet little girl. I still have a shyness about me, but it has become a hindrance in my life because it's just kind of where I lived. It's just like, I'm shy, I can get away with it, and we're just going to keep moving along, right? I don't have to do the work to feel a little bit more comfortable in my own skin. I don't have to do the work to feel better about communicating to others. I can just kind of live in this bubble. And although I've never thought about it that matter of factly, it is kind of what has presented, especially in my earlier stages of kind of my career and just, being in my adulthood. It definitely played a factor. And now I'm just kind of like, okay, I can be an intrinsically kind of more introspective, quiet human, but I can still do things that kind of scare me and feel bold or have better communication, even though that is kind of the way I operate, if that makes sense. And so today we're kind of going to walk through just a few things that can help us to do that. So if you're carrying around a title or an essence about you that doesn't serve you, right? That just doesn't feel like it serves you. You're itching to live differently or be kind of in a different kind of season of yourself, if you will, then this episode may be just what you need to kind of unearth that and move into a direction that feels good. Another one, just for kind of some more context, that I have kind of been playing with a lot, kind of a mantra that came to me earlier this year, was that I am silly and people appreciate that about me. I am silly and people appreciate that about me because I am a very silly human. And if you're in my world and any of my places and spaces on any platform, or I know you in real life, you have probably seen a level of silliness come out of me. However, I do feel that because I am sometimes kind of worried about the perception of what it feels like to be just outwardly fully me and raw and real and silly. Sometimes I'm like, oh, well, I don't know if that humor is going to land or if, doing this or that is going to, make someone uncomfortable. So it's another story that's not acceptable. That piece of me, that part of me is unacceptable. So I'm going to keep it small. And a few people see the full version of that. My husband being one of them. He probably sees the most just real human in me, right? In that vein of my personality. But why would I keep that back from all the people? And it's not intentionally that I'm doing it, but right, these stories can really put us in a place where we overthink and we kind of keep ourselves in these little kind of buckets, if you will. So one of the things I kind of want to talk about is the fact that sometimes when we name the story, we can identify it better, right? So if we name it, whether, you just think about it, you say it out loud, maybe you journal about it, and you kind of give it a name, right? I am this, or I am perceived to be that, right? However way you want to articulate it. And then we're going to start kind of debunking it, right? Like Mythbusters, like this is not the reality of me. And so what we want to do, I'm just checking my notes because if you know me as well. I'm very long-winded. I could make this episode into 3 hours probably if I wanted to. Um, but how do we identify the real voice behind that story? So what are we, right? Okay, so I'm going to use my examples. I am a shy individual. Okay. Well, what does that really mean to me? It means that sometimes I can be slow to warm up because I'm taking in the people around me. And I'm very much a listener. I'm a people person. So I may be quiet for a moment while I'm taking in the things around me. But that's not my entire truth. But I also then love talking to people and learning about them so I can have a conversation. So, right, kind of expanding on it, right? And moving it into a more actionable statement so that you understand how you operate within the adjective or the descriptive word that we're attaching to ourselves. And it may not just be a word. It could be just kind of a whole essence, a phrase, maybe just something that you have kind of globbed onto and has become very much a part of how you operate. And so once we're able to name it and then be able to expand it and see yourself like in a moment of how it actually looks and feels, then we can do more deeper work. And if you've been around, I named my mind gremlin, which her name is Regina. And doing that and being like, Regina's twisting this, she's shifting it for me, and it's not helpful right now. So, kind of backing into that, if you will, and keeping that moving in the right direction. So, when you start to say, well, oh, actually, and you find yourself maybe backing down or backing away from expanding it because it doesn't feel good sometimes. If it's something that does hold us back, maybe we feel a little bit silly about, maybe we feel embarrassed by, whatever, we can back down really easily because that mind gremlin of ours is going to start twisting and be like, well, no, that really is how you are. But if it's uncomfortable and you see the other side feeling a little bit more free, then it's not, right? We don't want to listen to that anymore. It's not keeping us safe. It's not doing its job anymore. In fact, it's hindering us. And so once we can focus on that, we can interrupt the pattern with curiosity. And I am a very curious person. I want to know things. I like to understand how things work or what makes people tick. So it's so interesting. But how do we get curious with ourselves? Right? So if you're a curious person, maybe you're a voracious reader, maybe you are somebody who asks a lot of questions because you like to get to know people and things and all of it. Wonderful. But do you do the same with yourself? Because when we do, we can swap judgment, right? With like the question, is this true? And I think that's very important. That is this true? Again, going back to that mind gremlin telling and twisting and doing all the things, what we're saying, is it really true? I don't know. Maybe it is, maybe it once was, maybe it's not at all, but you've just been living in it because it's comfortable. And what I know to be true for myself and a lot of my clients too, is that sometimes when we're just comfortable, even when it's also uncomfortable at the same time. Like that makes no sense really. When I said it out loud, I'm like, what does that even mean? But when it's like comfortable and there's discomfort at the same time, a lot of times we'll choose the discomfort because we know it more, right? And we are just more comfortable within it. So it's like we have to then do this weird teeter-totter thing of how do we get to the other side so that we're not just staying comfortable in the discomfort. Because literally that makes no sense. Like we're not on this planet, this crazy floating rock in the sky to just be in discomfort, just on and on and on and on. We have the ability to shift that, right? And yes, that doesn't mean that just everything under the sun is just going to feel great and be great. We all have hard seasons. So many people are in hard seasons right now as I'm sitting here, right? Myself included. There's all things always going around. But I'm talking when we get really real with ourselves, the only thing we can control is how we operate in this world. And I know that I'm operating through a kind of a more tough, heavier season currently because I do some of this work, right? My anxiety stays a little bit less, heightened. I can feel more level-headed when I'm making decisions or, just feeling a little not well, whatever it is, right? In the season that you're in. So when we do this work, we can find ourselves better moving through those kind of uncomfortable situations. And so what happens is kind of We replace the fear spirals with kind of a staircase, if you will, I suppose, if that's a good visual for you. Hopefully it is. I like to put a visual with it. But we can, that instead of spiraling down and moving just like at the speed of light into the valley, we can find ourselves building a staircase into who and how we really want to show up for ourselves, for other people, for our families, for our kids, for our businesses, all of it. We get to make the decision of how we move into our best self and leave self-limiting beliefs behind. We can leave them behind, or at least put them in a cage. I don't know why that was the visual that came to me, but we can like put them away and let them be at bay. And they're going to try to growl and they're going to try to, shake it out and shake out the cage. But we have the upper hand here. We do, even when it doesn't feel like we do. What are some little 10-second actions in the coming days that you can take to, again, debunk that belief? To, again, if for me, if I'm going back into like I'm shy, I'm quiet, and I can just kind of like dissipate over here. Well, you know that my brand is all about stepping into your confidence, finding the magic in life. If I do that, I'm not creating content. I'm dark. I'm quiet. I'm not doing that. So a 10-second thing that I can do is be like, I'm going to go create a piece of content, or I'm going to go book another studio session for recording the podcast. When I want to play small, when I want to stay and say that I am just shy and like there's nothing good that I bring to the world in my outward, bigger version of myself. Those are really easy things that I can do. What is it for you that you can go do right now while you're listening? There might be something you can start just doing, sending an email, making a phone, whatever it might be. And then keep that at the forefront of your mind this week. I am sick and tired of feeling this way or that way. So I'm going to make some really small micro choices, right? We always think about micro adjustments, like just tweaking and turning something just a little bit. But what about a micro choice that just kind of moves us, gets the ball rolling, and it just kind of discredits the self-limiting belief that no longer serves us? I don't know. Can you let me know what you're going to do? Because I want to hear. I love hearing these little things that we all can do and inspiring people. Nothing's better than seeing, whether it's on YouTube or Instagram, people feeding off of other people's thoughts and ideas in the comments. I don't know if that's just like, I don't know. It feels really good because it can be that simple. Somebody can say something that they're doing, working, feeling, and all that, and you can feel more seen and you can start shifting something in yourself. It's magic. So definitely let me know what it is that you're kind of working through and some ideas that maybe come to the forefront for you that you are excited about kind of helping in this shift. Because then here's the thing. When we start making actionable steps, our belief system starts to evolve. It evolves into a new version, kind of second by second, right? Day by day. And it's not just like this big unearthing, but it is all of a sudden you look back and you go, oh my gosh, I did that with more ease. Or I really showed up more boldly in that moment. Or you know what? Screw it. I don't even identify with that word or those, adjectives anymore. Like that is not even really who I feel like I am anymore. And how beautiful is that? There's like the science behind interrupting our own thoughts, right? Because we go from autopilot, which we talk a lot about around here, to awareness, because autopilot does not serve us when we're just going through our day and we don't see even what we're doing. We're just doing it. It's just happening. What magic are we missing when we are doing that? I don't even want to think about it because it makes me sad, but a lot. We're missing a ton of little magical moments. And I know that's a big word and I use it a lot in my world, but take it down to just like what life is about. That's what I think magic really is what life is about. The simplicities of finding beauty in everything, and letting that lift us up in hard times and stressful moments and all of that. So what are we missing when we're on autopilot? And so the science behind these little shifts and becoming more aware of our self-limiting beliefs is that we go from autopilot to awareness. And when we are aware, we can make even more micro choices and micro changes along the way. Because you can stop in your tracks and go, oh, that choice was more this way or that way, right? Like the Scarecrow and the Wizard of Oz, it's either this way or that way. Which way are we going? Are we going backwards into the self-limiting belief that does not serve us, or are we going in the direction that helps us? And when we are aware, we are going to be doing that in a more better fostered manner, which we need and we deserve, if you ask me. So how are we breaking the cycle? How are we going to do that? Because I think we subscribe to so much in this world. And I'm not talking about Netflix and this and that, which that word could easily be kind of moved into only that world. But what do we subscribe to in our mind? What do we subscribe to in our minds? What have we clicked the notification bell on? And what does it keep on bringing up for us? What does it keep on just flaring, like flare gunning into the sky? Because these things can be so intricately entwined into all the things, even the way we dress, the way we speak, the way we operate, our communication skills. I have talked about it before, but I have struggled with being like a phone call person because anxiety has just been my mode of feeling when I have to make a phone call. And it's not even a scary or terrifying situation. It's just sometimes calling a client, And I've worked on that a lot and it's much different now. And although some days I'm, a little bit more hesitant, it might just be because I'm not feeling my best self or whatever. I've shifted and changed that because it's detrimental to me as a business owner and as somebody who has big visions and wants to work and collaborate and all these things with people. It's detrimental, self-limiting belief that phone calls are uncomfortable and phone calls are scary. What is that? Why don't I trust myself enough to be able to do something so seemingly simple? So it kind of goes into, right, what are we subscribing to? What are we letting be our forefront thinking? Because I know for me, I've got things. And I'm going to be talking about them soon. You're going to see it into the new year as well. Some new shifts that you're going to see on the YouTube channel and within my business that is just going to support you and us and the whole collective of this community more. And if I stayed in my self-limiting belief that I am shy and that phone calls are scary and that nobody cares about the things that I have to say, you wouldn't be listening or watching to this episode right now. Because I promise you, it's easy to not do, right? And yours may be vastly different. And in fact, I'm sure it is. But whatever that beautiful brain of yours is subscribed to, can you block it or mute it at least for a little bit and just like test it out? See what it feels like to do something in a different manner and see how the confidence starts like kind of morphing for you, if you will, and how it begins to give you kind of a picture that's painted differently of yourself. Because I know, like for me, when I started being a little bit more mindful and off autopilot about, for instance, clothes and the way that I present myself, that I have the rule that I don't go more than 2 days without doing something intentional to get ready for the day. And I'm not talking I have like full glam and, like all the things happening. I mean that I look in the mirror and I say, hey, I'm alive, I'm here, right? And I do something for myself. Maybe I put a little bit of eye makeup on and I pick a shirt out that really feels good for that day. It is not rocket science. It is nothing fancy or crazy, but it's just enough for me. What is it for you that is similar? Because the way that we treat ourselves can help those self-limiting beliefs fall a little bit more to the wayside. So look around yourself as we kind of wrap up this episode. Look around yourself, your thoughts, your routines, your actions, and see how they're supporting a self-limiting belief to the point where it is just your reality. And how can you make shifts and changes to move in the direction right down the yellow brick road of letting that go. And you might need to take a deep breath right now if you need to. go for it. You might need to be okay with the little simmery, sizzling feelings that come with making different choices. Because I've felt that the last like 2 years, especially this year, though, I've really felt those little sizzles. Just like, oh, I feel like I'm on hot coals because I am putting myself in places and spaces and having conversations that I am telling you what have really tested me, tested the waters in which I am sailing upon. And it's really cool to see when you go to the other side of it and you go, you know what? That no longer serves me and I have let it go. Nothing is more beautiful. And I know that you deserve to feel wherever and however and whatever it is that is going to make you feel more in alignment, more successful in whatever success means to you, and just good in your own skin, because that's what we're all about here. I talk a lot about just feeling good in your own skin, feeling confident to move about this world in a way that matters the most to you. Because then it's a ripple effect, it just trickles on down for other people to do the same. So go out into the world this week and keep that top of mind. What are we, taking the notification bell off of? How are we challenging ourselves to do some little 10-second, moments to just make a change? Start making these little neurons in our brains think differently, feel differently, and most importantly, just present differently in the way that you operate. Let me know how this little journey goes for you. I love hearing from you. And until next time, have fun, my friends.